So thank you very much indeed for coming. My name is Imtiaz Muqbil. I'm the executive editor of Travel Impact Newswire based in Bangkok. I'm also a life member of the club. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a briefing on the first forum that is going to be held in Thailand on what I call the greatest story in global tourism history. I just want to give you a little bit of a background on this. Today, the Thai travel and tourism industry gets 40 million visitors a year, generating an income of about 2 trillion baht. This did not happen overnight. The tourism industry originally took off with the formation of the Tourism Authority of Thailand and Thai Airways International in 1960. And since that time, the industry has boomed. I was very proud to have started covering the industry in 1981 for a publication called Travel Trade Gazette. So this would mean that when the industry was about 21 years old, I started covering the industry, and it has now been nearly 40 years that I have looked at this industry in great detail, including all its ups and downs. Now, what has happened is that the industry today has become too big to fail. With the 2 trillion baht of income and the 40 million visitors who are coming to Thailand today, they generate an enormous ripple effect in terms of jobs, in terms of literally every aspect of Thailand today impacts in some way or the other on the future of the Thai travel and tourism industry. The problem is that in many cases, there is actually no history. There is not a single university or any other place of learning within the industry today where you can learn and come up to speed with the history of how this industry came to where it is today. People today will be more than happy to teach you about some new marketing strategies, about advertising planning, about development, about housekeeping, about operations. But today, the travel and tourism industry, the history of this industry so far does not exist anywhere. And it's a big gap. So what happens is that when people start looking at the future of the industry, there is no learning curve. What mistakes did we make in the past? What successes did we achieve in the past? There is no actual record of this in a nice, finite, comprehensive way, well-researched way, so that the industry can actually learn from both its successes as well as its failures. So what happens is that you'll end up repeating some of the mistakes of the past, and you don't learn from the successes. So this becomes a bit of a self-perpetuating cycle. There's a lot more that can be done to improve how we look at the industry going forward. So what I'm doing is on the 14th of June, I'm organizing a forum that will try and put some sense into what this industry is all about. And I'll give you an example. In the 80s and the 90s, a lot of the infrastructure that you see today actually started coming into place. The convention centers, the airports, the roads, the highways, the hotel industry, a lot of that started taking place in the 1980s. Now, the reason for that is because in 1987, the Thai tourism industry celebrated one of the most momentous global marketing extravaganzas that completely catapulted this industry, not just in Thailand, but around ASEAN as well as the entire world, to a whole new level. It was called Visit Thailand Year. And what they did was they took the occasion of His Majesty the late King Bhumibol's birthday and converted it into a marketing extravaganza that has never been seen before, that at that time had never been done before on the global tourism stage. And what it did is that because of the fact that it united the whole industry, it united the whole country around that event, it raised the level of tourism to a completely new dimension. It was the biggest event in travel and tourism history the world has ever seen at that particular time. And the immediate after that, it was a huge success because of the fact that it had never been actually done. It was a huge success. That year, the tourism industry in 1987 went up by about 20%. And what it did, the ripple effect from that, was that it actually raised the level of travel and tourism to, gave it an enormous level of respectability. You saw people who had probably not paid so much attention to an industry in a country that was basically focusing mainly on agriculture and was moving into manufacturing and industrialization, who had never actually focused on tourism as a business proposition, suddenly moving into that line of business. And immediately after that, you saw a whole bunch of hotels coming up, department stores joining the game, tour operators packaging Thailand, airlines starting flights to Thailand. It raised the level of respectability of travel and tourism as an economic, social force to a dimension that had never been done before in this country. And then what happened after that was that you suddenly saw a whole bunch of other countries around the region also going in the same way. So then you had to visit Malaysia here, you had to visit Indonesia here, you had to visit something or the other here. And all these sections, all these countries around the region raised it to a completely new level. And in 1992, when ASEAN was celebrating the 25th anniversary of its founding, they came up with a Visit ASEAN year, which was similar to Visit Thailand year. Now, you can see that basically the whole thing moved from one step to the other. Now, the history of this has never been recorded. Now, what I did in 1987 is that I wrote the first book on Visit Thailand year. This is the first book that was actually produced, which documented what this book is, what Visit Thailand year is all about. This one here. It's called it's called the first report, a study of the Thai tourism revolution. This basically focused on the marketing angle of how Visit Thailand year was put together. It's the only book in English of its kind available today about an event that basically changed the picture of the tourism industry, not just in Thailand, but just about all over the world. And immediately after that, a whole bunch of problems that came up as a result of it becoming a business. Yes, it was moving ahead economically, but there were a whole bunch of other issues that came up in terms of regulatory issues, legal issues, enforcement issues, which created a whole bunch of problems. And that focused on the management aspect of it. So I did a sequel the following year, exactly 30 years ago this year, in 1989. I did a sequel to that called Coping with the Challenge of Growth, because it had become quite obvious even at that time that the marketing success of tourism was going to lead to a whole bunch of management problems, which would also have to be done, also have to be dealt with. So the marketing and the management were put together in two books, and these are the only books that have existed of the history and the origins of the most amazing event in global travel and tourism history. So this forum on the 14th of June will try and bring all this history of this industry together and look at some of the that are emerging issues going forward and what can actually be done. So I'm hoping that as a result of some of you people who are here today, and thanks to help from various other association groupings like the TAT and some of the private sector, people will actually find that this might be worth attending, and I'll be happy to share any further thoughts. My email address is available for anybody who wants to get a few details on registration and other things. And I'm looking forward to seeing a strong turnout of expatriates, professors, consultants, and others who will come there, including people in the travel and tourism industry, to come and get some new ideas, some new, I think, revolutionary ideas, just like I did 30 years ago with these books. Never been done before. I'm hoping that some of these ideas will actually come and develop a much better travel and tourism industry going forward. So that's going to be on the 14th of June at the Grand Arnoma. Happy to take a few questions on what this is going to be all about, and maybe see how we can actually give this great industry a real move up in the new era. So if there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to take them. Thank you very much indeed for sparing your time and coming today.